All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm joined once again by my buddy through the miracle of computer phone. I'm here with John Burr. John Burr, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm not as well as I should be, all things considered, because I have so many Christmas gifts for my sundry family members that I couldn't move the boxes of knickknacks I've purchased for them for Christmas to get to my somewhat embarrassing Ja Morant jersey collection to put a Ja jersey on. But that's probably better for our playback listeners, YouTube viewers, as they're a little too form-fitting these days.
Oh, that's
There's a
we
bit of a
put
sausage container.
John and Ja jerseys, the Vienna sausage sleeve.
Yeah.
This is that's behind the paywall where we keep that. I'm really struggling with the Christmas gifts this year for my wife.
Mine's pretty bad for mine.
Like I'm buying her things I know she doesn't want, and like I used to think that was funny. You know,
that's not funny.
It's not that funny. It like that wears off maybe in like
That's-
the early glow of attraction.
Maybe.
They can be like, oh, that's pretty funny. You got me this thing I don't really want. Now
you may have always been taking L's there, and she was just putting on a good face.
Exactly. That's also relationship advice for the young folk out there. This is mainly for fellas. It might work for ladies, but I think this is an exclusively fella problem. The lady doesn't like your movies, your music, or probably your hobbies, and don't give her joke gifts. That's just that. Maybe it works out, but I'm telling you, like, there's the initial courtship phase where they're like, oh yeah, I love that record too. She does not love that record.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if I got her an aspirational gift? Is that good or bad?
No, don't do anything aspirational. I see, like, hey, I'm coming up with a list of like 10 movies that I really want my wife to watch. Never do that.
I got our board game, hoping we would quote unquote do more things together.
Right.
Not good.
I got the wife a huge Lego set last year. Okay. I got her a huge Lego set. Like, let's share this hobby.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I don't want to play board games either.
Yeah.
I left the price tag on so that she
I
knows
think
it
one
costs
aspirational
$150.
thing that I got her for our anniversary was like concert tickets. And it was like a concert for not a thing I liked, a thing that she liked. My thought was like, we should go out more. So this is aspirational. I figure if I buy the thing, there's a greater chance of us actually attending it. But
did it not work?
It's coming up. It's in February. So we'll see.
Sigaros in Iceland.
Yeah, that's the one. We're going to fly over a live volcano to watch.
They're playing inside the live volcano, playing the soundtrack to Black Swan in a live volcano.
Yeah. It's not actually a volcanic eruption in Iceland. It's a multimedia release of probably the next Marvel film.
The OG Sphere.
Oh man. OG Sphere.
Trouble.
Earth. Anyways, John, what's your breakfast, man? We haven't talked in a long time. We've had some scheduling conflicts. You haven't been able to make it on. I gotta say, I've missed you. The listeners have missed you. What's your breakfast been?
I did not have breakfast yet today, but I did have a classic. I'm not sure. Have you ever been to Wendell Smith's?
No. Is that's a center for the Magic?
Yes, Wendell Smith Jr. So Wendell Smith is like a famous greasy spoon in Nashville. I think he's now more famous for just owning land, but it is truly one of the last time machine restaurants in Nashville, and you can always spot a time machine restaurant because they're fiercely protective of their parking.
Oh yeah,
and they'll have signs that are basically slanderous against whatever new, especially chain restaurant, is around the corner or nearby. And I always find it very endearing when the old guard is fiercely protective of their parking and has a guy, like an attendant, standing out there waiting to boot your car.
So I remember this back in Nashville I'm calling Nashville early days, the 1990s. Okay, this is before we were
before the Burman. Yeah.
This is before we were a hip city.
Let's be honest. I probably was the harbinger of doom for Nashville.
You could have been.
I moved here.
Yeah.
for the reasons that people move here now,
Yeah.
I would probably, yeah.
This is before Nashville was the #1 bachelorette destination vacation. This is when the downtown had lots of empty buildings. This was like when I was in church, go to church in Nashville, we would hang out at this place, the San Antonio Taco Company, otherwise known as Satco to the locals. Just a hole in the wall, cheap food.
I love Satco.
No, it's great. It's a Nashville institution. Basically, the food is only fit for high schoolers and younger, unless you train your body to like it. Like,
it's high school cafeteria food.
Yeah, you can't bring an adult there who's never been there because it'll mess them up. But back in the 90s, it wasn't Satco defending their parking. It was the Burger King next door, and this Burger King had a hired attendant to make sure that you didn't park there and walk over to Satco. You had to make sure you were walking in to get your Whopper. And I don't know what the profit margins were for this Burger King. That they're like, we need to hire somebody to stand in the parking lot to yell at youths, but they did. I don't know if that's
people don't know the rich history of what Nashville used to be, where all the truckers would come, would route their routes through Nashville so that they could go down to Printer's Alley.
Yeah,
get their crankshafts lubricated, if you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean, and I think you do.
And then they got rid of all the Tokyo spas and all the fully frontal strip clubs, and next thing you know, I moved to town, and here come the bachelorettes.
Yeah, there go the party buses, the pedal taverns. Has our new mayor? I thought he ran on no more pedal taverns.
That was a guy who did not win, but
my childhood memory of this is like my childhood memory of what downtown Nashville used to be like. So the church I went to was downtown. It's still there. It's next door to where the Nashville Predators play. But we had a view of basically the vacant city blocks downtown. And one Sunday night at church, we watched an abandoned building burn down. Just like that is a raging metropolis, Nashville. Empty buildings just burning to the ground.
Christ, or did you go to Wicker Man? What happened here?
I don't know. Maybe I dreamed it. It might have been a vision. It might have been. Spirit moves in mysterious ways. My breakfast, John. So the kids are home. It's winter holidays break, Christmas break, like we called it in the 90s. And I just made my kids a bunch of eggs. Almost had a cooking near disaster. So I'm making my 6-year-old an omelet, and I got the eggs going. I'm ready to throw in that cheese in the middle. I open the bag of cheese, throw it down in like one fell swoop, but the cheese has gone bad and it stinks to high heaven, like just horrible. Like, oh, this is moldy. I look in the bag. You're a little sensitive to this stuff. I see you on the video, maybe getting a little ill. I see in the bag. Oh yeah, this is turned. But my thought is, let me see if I can get the cheese off the omelet. Like I need to save these 2 eggs I've just cooked. And I basically pick up, like, it just happens. So I'm like, it's not all melted. I'm like grabbing it, picking up, and then I start scraping off the part that's melted. And it occurs to me, Keith, you're not destitute. You can not feed your 6-year-old this just a hint, a waft of gross cheese. I don't know. Throw those eggs in the trash. Let's start over. So that was she got. I had to do mozzarella cheese though. She did not like it. That was a disappointment. It had been like a Mexican cheese blend, a classic Kroger staple. She didn't like the mozzarella as much.
She didn't want no frittata.
Yeah. I was like, well, honey, the other cheese would have tasted worse. So I had a fried egg, no cheese for me. That was my breakfast on this fine Thursday. Yeah, and my penance. Anyways, those were our breakfasts. Let's move on. After our breakfast, we go to our breakfast in bed apologies. This is our chance to make right anything we might have gotten wrong on a previous episode. It's frequently the first time we talk about the NBA. John, you and I, we have been texting a little bit. Sometimes we go weeks with no communication. I think there's been enough going on in our specific corners of the universe, namely Ja Morant's return and/or Dillon Brooks's vengeance, where we texted Draymond way more, and Draymond facing the music. But anyways, this is the segment where we actually talk about basketball, and it's where we make right for something we got wrong. And I'll go ahead and say, speaking of Draymond, I should apologize. to the NBA and to Joe Dumars and to Adam Silver and to the corporal, the punishment wing. I'll go with corporeal. That's a more fun one. Corporeal. In my head, I'm spelling it right. But the punishment wing of the NBA, where I doubted that they would come down hard. I doubted they would put their foot down or stomp their foot down, if you will, with the Draymond Green punishment. And I was wrong.
But what if he's back next week?
No, they said he's going to be out for 2 more weeks, at least. Taking 3 weeks off. It's a roughly 12 to 13 games or so. They said he's going to be away for 3 weeks. I said they did not have the stones to kick him out for like 8 to 10 games. Like I thought he absolutely should be. I don't understand why his punishment had been so light for previous incidents. And I was wrong. They came down hard. And now Draymond is apparently is going to reflect, change his behavior. I think I now understand, John, the way non-Grizzlies and Ja Morant fans felt about the Ja Morant rehabilitation. Like, I don't know, again, not apples to apples, but what exactly is Draymond trying to fix? I mean, I recognize his behavior does feel like someone who maybe could use counseling or anger management, but his behavior has been celebrated by him and his coach and his team for the entire 10-year run of Fast Break Breakfast.
Yes. And he did it on purpose. He hit him in the face. Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Kermit Washington was being what he thought attacked from behind when he turned around and hit Rudy Tomjanovich in the face.
Well, wait, wasn't he? He was being attacked from behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was suspended 26 games, 60 days, fined $10,000, which I think in today's NBA player money is $10 billion.
Yeah.
So I don't get the apology. I think this is the first I'm hearing of how long it actually is. I think 2 to 3 weeks is pretty pathetic.
I mean, after the Gobert strangle,
he just did this. He
just did it and was proud of it and was defended. Like, you still had Bob Fitzgerald and Clint Azubuike on the broadcast being like, oh, he's the peacemaker here.
Yeah, I actually think he just got away with it again. Like, this is not a very big suspension.
I think what if the parallels? So I'm trying to really
stunned by your apology. This is him coming back in 2 or 3 weeks after this is
my apology.
Hilarious.
I thought the NBA was going to chicken out and be like 3 games, 5 games. I'm still surprised. I feel like the Warriors lack of institutional control. Like, they should have done something about this.
Warriors have turned into clowns right before our eyes.
I feel like,
was there a cooler, more fun to root for team, even though we didn't understand how badly their style of play would completely destroy the NBA in one fell swoop? Was there a team that was more fun to watch than the Warriors there for a while? And now every player, and especially the coach, elicits, and it's not just because they're good. Like, the San Antonio Spurs were good for so long, and I never felt bile in the back of my throat when I would see they are clowns. To a man.
They've always said about, like, Draymond Green, getting ejected and like prancing around like a villain wrestler to the crowd. Kerr's always like, that's who he is. And we embrace Draymond, and that's the fire he plays with. Oh, he kicked somebody in the groin again, got suspended. It's like, yeah, that's the competitive edge that he plays with.
Battered wife. He had his ass whooped by Michael Jordan.
Maybe you're right.
And now Draymond Green has been whooping his ass for years. He is a battered wife, saying whatever it is he needs to say to the officers to keep his abuser from being charged further. I don't want to hear.
You made me more sympathetic.
To me, he is one of the most embarrassing people in the NBA, and I can't wait till he's gone.
John, what if Taylor Jenkins was like, you guys don't understand. Being drunk, playing with guns, that's who Ja Morant is. That's how he gets his edge.
Yeah.
Just being inebriated with guns, that gives us that's our winning way. That's his motor for being one of the best players in the NBA.
Hey, at least it's something he does on his own time.
Have you tried to explain Ja Morant's suspension to somebody who doesn't follow sports that closely recently? Where they're like, "Hey, why would Ja Morant get suspended for 25 games?"
I'm incapable of telling it without my own twisted, perverse slant, skewed.
It's like, yeah, he held a gun on Instagram. It's like, yeah. So what did he do? Was he shooting it like over the heads of people or something like that?
I think the only thing that you have to do if you're trying to be this brazen ass Grizzlies fan is you do have to tell the pointed the gun at the Pacers story.
Yeah. I mean,
because that's the one that's like
Ja Morant's inner circle of people had there were multiple gun incidents investigated by the NBA. The Grizzlies were happy he got suspended. I'm reading between the lines there.
When I do the Ja Morant did nothing wrong thing, it's a bit.
No. I'm not saying Ja Morant did nothing wrong.
When I do the Draymond Green should be suspended just as long as Ja Morant, it's not a bit.
Yes.
I'm serious. He should have been suspended just as long. The fact that they let him continue to do the prance around like an ass stuff is a complete loss of institutional control, which normally I kind of think is awesome. But in this case, I'm tired of it, so I don't want to see it anymore. Also, like, I really don't think he or any of those guys feel like he's doing anything wrong, so they need to be stomped down to show them, hey, yes, you are. Yes, it is. Like it needs to be a clapback so extreme so as to make a difference. And honestly, like just suspending Draymond probably won't do enough because he sucks now anyways. So
I feel like he's had a pretty good year. He seems better. Yeah, they are struggling. It's just so weird. We're like, they defended him after he punched Jordan Poole. And then he's been suspended multiple times since then. They defended him when he stomped on Sabonis.
Yeah. I mean, it's really just a joke.
And now all the stuff where it's like, oh, he's changed.
And now he gets a couple of weeks off during the holidays.
That's pretty funny. I'm not saying Ja Morant shouldn't have been suspended.
He had to. Yeah, I'm sure that I'm very glad he's back.
It's been very, very good. Do you have anything you want to apologize for, John? What's something you'd like to make right during our apologies?
Kudos to Dillon.
Oh, you want to apologize to Dillon Brooks?
Kudos.
Dillon Brooks. I feel like you said this. I don't want to misrepresent your opinion.
Right.
I feel like you and maybe Chris Vernon and others were like, Dillon has to go. You could replace him with literally anyone, and the Grizzlies will be better.
Found out that was not true.
I don't think that's, yeah. You saw Zucker and David Roddy play enough. We were like, well, all right.
Yes.
Maybe Dillon's better than those guys.
I mean, there is certainly some contextual stuff surrounding that as far as like, you can't replace 3 or 4 guys with literally anyone.
Yeah.
Also, like, and we did allude to this when we were bidding him adieu.
Yeah.
He is really fun. And he is like an example of what Draymond used to be, which is a character. I still don't think you can have a good playoff team with Dillon being a large piece. And I think Houston's found that out as well. But man, Houston's so fun and so good suddenly. And also Dillon, Dillon is he is fun.
He's fun.
He is fun. And he always was for us as well.
So his return game was just something unbelievable. He had 26 points against the Grizzlies. He still owns his home in Memphis. So he got to sleep in his own bed. He was happy to come back to Memphis for the first game there. But he had a 24-point second half, hits the dagger 3, then ices it further with a steal just for good measure.
I've seen some people try to say that wasn't a game-winning shot. It absolutely ended the game.
Well, it's a dagger. Those are different.
Yeah, We've had many arguments in our Patreon only select chat that everyone should join about the definition of a dagger. Twas a dagger.
It was a dagger. He also won me a lot of money. Should I apologize for that?
Do you want to talk about this? This is
Listen,
illness.
I thought, here's how I gamble. I gamble very small stakes, and I gamble much like I do most things in life. I do it in a way that I either need to, one, find it enjoyable, or two, find it funny, preferably both. So my thought was, I'm going to come up with a parlay about Dillon Brooks having an awesome game and the Rockets winning, because if that happened, that would be funny. So I bet at 25-1 odds, Dillon would score at least
text messages.
I said Dillon Brooks 25 or more points, Dillon Brooks 3 or more made threes, Rockets to win. That's plus 2,500. I'm gonna do that. And it was the only wager I made on the whole evening. And I texted you as Dillon, like, because Dillon was like 1 for 9 in the first half and 2 points.
Here are scorned
texts from a scorned Grizzlies fan.
Plus 2,500. Dillon Brooks to score 25, make 3 threes, and Rockets to win. For me, seems like an awful way to watch. Later on, a Dillon 3 and Rockets win does it. Oh, wait a minute.
There was one where I was like,
yeah. I'm really close to my evil bet.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah.
A Dillon 3 and Rockets win does it. So now you're rooting for the Rockets. So I stand by my earlier statement. And then you said, nah, I'm rooting for the Grizzlies, but if they lose, I'll have a fun story. And then I said, you know what you were, and this I assume was after a Dillon 3 point attempt. I said, you know what you were just rooting for. Just
yeah,
now.
Dillon missed one right before the third. The dagger one was the third one. That was the bet winner.
You said, oh yeah, I wanted that to go in. And then I assume the dagger happens, and you texted me, and I text back, go look at yourself in the mirror.
So John,
you text back, it's storybook. I text, here's how the text exchange ends for the evening, and then we don't text for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Wish I had watched neither of these games. Lord have mercy, gonna take a week to stop thinking about that.
Yeah, you took the loss much harder. I have a simple question for you. You're not wrong. It's an evil way to go about living your life. It's wrong. I also told you in a text you left out, I said I also have Dillon in fantasy. So like, yes, I'm playing.
I do too. I should fully disclose. I also picked him up for the Grizzlies game.
Yeah. So here's a very simple question, John. When we started doing this show in 2014,
oh God,
did I play fantasy basketball or gamble?
I don't remember if you played fantasy basketball. I know you did not gamble.
The answer is no. You got me into fantasy basketball, John. Because my opinion was
impure.
It's impure.
It is impure.
I don't want to be watching a Grizzlies game and be like, back in the day, my example was, I don't want to be watching a Grizzlies game and be like, hey, if Rudy Gay misses this shot, that's actually good for me because I'm playing him in fantasy. I'm like, no, I want to be a Grizzlies fan. I want to be a sports fan. I don't want to be cheering for guys to miss on my team or to score against my team. So you got me in to this life. I blame you, John. This is who you turned to. Me. Yeah.
Also,
I am a product of your influence.
Chuck, dearly departed Chuck, is also into fantasy basketball now that he's not on the show. He's hilarious. Really into it. Yeah. Makes acquisitions and texts me about acquisitions every day. Dead last.
Yeah, there's a you know,
I do think
you can fidget too much
while holding this L that I have just been presented with. I do think there are tiers here, and you can have guys in fantasy basketball, not fantasy football though. Not fantasy football. If you have the opposing team's running back in fantasy football, you have gone too far. But in fantasy basketball, you can shrug it off. But as soon as there's money on the line, it's
it crosses
not even the wealthiest of men can shrug off that visceral feeling.
Yeah.
Especially when a parlay's involved. My God, you root harder for a parlay than for your marriage to succeed.
Yeah. Well, my bad, guys.
Parlay's like watching your kid on the soccer field, like Tony Soprano cheers, like Italian
Yeah.
noises.
I'm sorry for the feeling I felt when Dillon Brooks destroyed the Grizzlies and ripped their heart out. Anyways, those were our apologies. But before we get to our steak and eggs best thing, just a word from Underdog Fantasy. Speaking of parlays, they don't have parlays. They have compounding higher or lowers, I think is the legal term. If you want to play daily fantasy sports for cash, if you want to do some higher or lowers with your favorite players, you can use it. You can do all that at Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FBBF as in Fastbreak Breakfast, and Underdog Fantasy will match your opening deposit up to $100. If you live in Tennessee or Alabama, Mississippi, or Alaska, they will actually match your opening deposit up to $500. So use that promo code FBBF or click the link in this episode's description. All right, John, steak and eggs best thing. What's the best thing you saw in the last week?
This is going to blow your mind, but I have positive words to say about Coby.
I think I know.
Seen any of these games? Is this completely, or at least partially reliant on him shooting over 50% from three? Perhaps. But I do take some relish in that Coby White looks pretty good.
I thought that's where you might be going. Not just Coby White's good. I mean, the Bulls without Zach LaVine, this has got to be devastating for Zach LaVine's trade value, right?
It's a long thread on our podcast.
So, yeah, Zach LaVine basically quit on the team. I mean, he's quote unquote injured. They'd been blown out a few times in a row, and he's finally like, yeah, I'm hurt. I'm not going to play anymore. And since Zach LaVine went down, the Bulls are 7-3, and your guy, Coby White, 25-7-7 in those 10 games. So he's playing better than Zach LaVine. Coby White, do you know his contract status?
He's $11 million a year.
Yeah, it's like nothing. He's like signed for 3 more years at nothing. It's an unbelievable win for the Bulls. I mean, they've gone through it all with the Lonzo Ball issue and Vucevic being kind of garbage now and like having to stare at the Magic, who are awesome, and knowing that they made the Magic awesome by trading them all those picks and Wendell Carter Jr. and or Wendell Smith Jr. But yeah, the Bulls are like legit, and I don't. Is this just a hot? Is this what happens when you fire a coach that everybody hates? You get that immediate boost. Is it just a random schedule thing? I mean, I don't know. I'm not watching all the Bulls games, but I know when I tune in, I'm like, good Lord, Coby White's on fire again. And yeah, I mean, I love DeMar DeRozan, and this feels like, I don't know, some kind of validation for him too. That like, man, just get some defenders out there, get some Ayo Dosunmus and Patrick Williams, and then just let Coby and DeMar carry the offensive load, and they're successful now. It's a little bit, I don't know. Like, I can't tell.
Look, we said it many years ago. Just don't play Zach LaVine. The secret.
I know Bulls fans are like some of the most despondent sports fans out there, and because it's like we're rudderless, we're directionless. I'm curious if are they fired up about this resurgence? Are they fired up in like a vengeful way where they're like, in your face, Zach LaVine, or are they sad that like, oh, now we're definitely never blowing it up because now we're going to scrape into the play-in maybe, or we're just barely going to miss the play-in. And in the offseason, they're going to be like, hey, look at that 10-game stretch when Coby White was playing well. We could build around this. So like, what do you have any Bulls fans in your life where you can get a temperature on how they're feeling exactly about the different nuances of this run they're on?
So I have a few Bulls fans in my life. Yes. They're the principal reason I know about this Coby thing. And we have been arguing about Zach LaVine for probably 3 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like they are fully swayed now. I think it took, this brazen divorcee attitude that Zach LaVine has, but yeah, I think they're on board. Also, like Zach LaVine, if he is not dunking, is not as fun as Coby White either. Like
Well,
Coby
Zach
White's a lot
LaVine
more fun.
has. Oh, I love Zach LaVine's jumper. It's so beautiful. Like he's
Yeah,
so good at shooting.
okay, but Zach LaVine probably has more 30.0 assist games than anybody else in the NBA over the past few years.
It might be true. Yeah. Maybe
He's
a big. I don't know. But yeah. But
oh yeah, maybe yeah, but maybe pre Harden leaving Joel Embiid, maybe.
yeah, even then, yeah, Embiid was getting like 2 or something. Yeah, that's you're probably right. Yeah, he doesn't like passing.
No.
But
And that's to a bridge too far.
now the question with LaVine, it's always been the question, kind of like who wants him and who would trade for him. And I worry like the Lakers, who aren't playing that great right now. Like the Lakers are going to kind of get him, and this is just or like they might try to get him and attach to another far flung future first or something. But this also goes to the Lakers kind of chasing guys, or chasing the wrong guy, where they traded Westbrook and picks to get D'Angelo Russell, and they could have just had Mike Conley, who's better. And now you think of them like, what are they going to trade to get Zach LaVine? Like last year, they could have traded for Coby White. Like anybody could have gotten Coby White last year. Maybe you couldn't see it coming. I mean, Coby White was solid last year. He wasn't the breakout Coby White, but impressive stuff from the Chicago Bulls. I'll do my best thing, John. I thought maybe you would take it, but I'll do a couple. I mean, first of all, it would be remiss of me not to focus more on Ja Morant's amazing return. Ja Morant returned, and all of a sudden, the worst offensive team in the NBA, dropping 76-point halves, rallying from 19 down at halftime to beat the Pelicans. Ja Morant with a buzzer beater in his first game. This also filled me with hatred for Adam Silver. I know Ja Morant deserved to be suspended, but it basically killed the year. And yes, Ja Morant has culpability. It was his fault for getting suspended. Maybe the 25 games seemed excessive. But then Ja Morant, super rusty in the first half, hasn't played a basketball game in 8 months, given no preseason, and rolls it out there in the second half and has 27 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in just the second half, has his first career walk-off buzzer beater. I was elated, ecstatic. It reminded me that actually watching your favorite team can be fun. Might be like Bulls fans watching the team when Zach LaVine goes down. What were your thoughts watching Ja Morant's triumphant return to the game of basketball?
Is restoration too strong a term?
I don't think so.
This
Resurrection, not too strong of a term.
So yeah, I mean, resurrection seems. I don't know. It feels more like. I didn't think it could be, especially with the way the first half went. I didn't think it could be this good. It was not within the realm of possibility.
Oh, this specific game?
Yeah.
I weirdly, so we had a Grizzlies watch party in Nashville. Actually, a ton of people came out. It was a lot of fun. We were getting crushed in the first half, and I was actually like, I think they'll be pretty good. Like it was so much better than anything else the whole year. Where I'm just like, man, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane with Vince Williams Jr. and Jaren, that's awesome. I'm having a great time watching these guys play basketball, even if we are down 23 and CJ McCollum never misses when he plays the Grizzlies. I mean, no, I wasn't anticipating a comeback. This was not like when I live bet the Pistons plus 17.5 against the Hawks and won that one. See, sometimes I bet on teams that aren't the Grizzlies. But no, I mean, I didn't expect a storybook walk-off buzzer beater, but I did feel like, oh, this is going to go a fine way.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
But I go into that game, I'm like, okay, Ja Morant's going to come back. But the team's in such bad straits, dire straits. He can't be, we might be scrappy again, but there's no way to fix this roster. There's no way to fix what we've become.
Yep.
And you forget the impact a player can have to where, oh, if everyone's not standing in the corner shooting threes, perhaps we can rebound. Perhaps we can get on breaks. Perhaps we can turn these really good defensive plays into offensive plays. We don't have to just pray that a three-pointer is going to go in. So it really was like a complete transformation.
I think you make an interesting point about the power and impact of a single player. It's wild where it's like, I guess we forget sometimes. We're like, we credit depth and we credit coaches and we criticize depth and coaches a lot. But then when you have one amazing player, it's like, oh, well, all right, this team is now good. And maybe that's just the magic of basketball. That actually reminds me, I don't know if this is an apt comparison, but this is, here's my second steak and eggs. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch Kawhi Leonard play basketball recently, but Kawhi Leonard is back.
Maybe the best player in the league right now.
Yeah, possibly the best player in the NBA. For years of this show, like what was the last time? Maybe 4 years ago. It was one of those things where, like, I know LeBron is probably the best player and Giannis is the best player, but like, do we talk enough about Kawhi, who might actually be just the best player in the NBA? He's this unstoppable basketball robot, and the unstoppable basketball robot is back. He also has played, what do we knock on wood? I don't know. He's played I think 61 of the Clippers' last 69 games. So he's been playing in the basketball games, but the guy has been.
Credit to the other two guys. They have found those, they have found a way to be contributors and not, like, they are clearly deferring in a way that seems to be working. I actually saw 2 recent Clippers games. I saw the crazy James Harden game. It's all working. Like, it looks really, really good.
So in their last 15, they're 12. The Clippers are 12-3. Kawhi Leonard is shooting a paltry 57% from the field. His splits are 57, 43, 92, averaging 27 points per game. Meanwhile, James Harden has played in every one of those games. His splits 47, 46, 84. So Harden's hitting 46% of his threes, averaging 9 assists per game. You got Paul George. He's missed a couple of games, no big deal. But like, Paul George is kind of finding his spot. The initial worry when you got Harden was, I feel like you need to be playing through Paul George, because Paul George started the year so incredibly well, and he's a really good player. But like, they're finding their balance. But also the individual brilliance of Kawhi, it's just terrifying. He's gotten into this thing where if he just goes one-on-one against a guy, you're toast. And then if you send help, he's basically carving up 2 people at a time. The Mavericks lost to him on Wednesday night. They were so frustrated because they had no way to stop him. They were like sitting double teams. He's doing these combination of, it's like Hakeem plus Michael Jordan. I don't know whose footwork he's emulating. Where like he somehow is turning these into dunks. Where it's like he's doing like he's going to go into this 16-foot Michael Jordan fadeaway. Wait, he just Euro stepped towards the basket and dunked it like 2 times in a row, like through a double team. I don't know. I'm tickled pink by the guy because I love watching him play. And in his last 5, he's made 65% of his field goal attempts in his last 5 games. It's unreal. And so, kudos
as
to
you said, Paul
Steve
George
Ballmer.
has been gone for a few games.
Yeah, just 2 though. But yeah,
people are. I'm reading people say a lot about the impact Terrence Mann has had on the lineup, but I think that's probably digging too deep. It's just Kawhi being completely insane.
Here, I'm just seeing this. Actually, I didn't even know this. Their top 6 in the rotation in the last 5 games, they're all over 50% from the field. Kawhi, last 5 games, 65%. Paul George, 50%. James Harden, 51%. Norm Powell, 60%. Zubac, 63%. Who cares? We know that's what Zubac does. Russell Westbrook, 57%. I've now highlighted how unsustainable this is. Never mind. This is just a hot stretch of shooting. This is communally.
We're gonna be apologizing for Clippers and Coby White next week. Because
Yeah,
I think
the
Coby White's
regression.
51 and 55% from different types of 3-point shooting right now. So yeah.
You know, it was an underrated trade that I made fun of at the time. Gary Trent Jr. for Norm Powell. My thought was Gary Trent Jr.'s younger. And why wouldn't you just go with the younger guy? Gary Trent Jr. is horrible now. I don't know.
Yeah, I looked at him in fantasy recently and just combed through his lines and was like, who is this man?
I'm not going to act like I'm a Gary Trent Jr. expert and have watched all 200 of his games the last few seasons. But every time I watch him, he's just jogging from 3-point line to 3-point line and shooting 35% or worse. And it's just like, I thought this guy was good a couple years ago, where he was like a 17-point per game guy who's super young. Like, the man's in a contract year. Has anyone explained to him what contract years are? Like, he looks horrible. Norm Powell is just like, yeah, this is just Gunner, professional NBA scorer, and he still does it. And so, impressive stuff by the Clippers. Here's the third helping of steak and eggs, John. I can't help myself. Maybe I'm just excited. Haven't podcasted with you in several weeks. Were you following the Giannis Antetokounmpo game ball situation?
Oh, yes.
So he scores whatever he scores, 36 free throws or something stupid, 60 points, and the Pacers steal the game ball. And the Pacers made up this incredible story about, what's this guy's name? The Kentucky guy who played for forever. Is it Sheepway or something?
I
never said it out loud.
It's not possible for me to say. Yes.
Okay. Well, they're like, oh, it was this guy's first NBA points, so he's kept the game ball. Well, I don't believe you.
Perfect plausible deniability.
There was a fracas in the tunnle. Rick Carlisle, bald-faced lies like, oh yeah, our assistant GM might have cracked a rib. Hysterical deadpan comedy from Rick Carlisle. Anyway. The Bucks are mad about them keeping this game ball. Giannis looks like he's doing a Mouse in the Palace, sprinting through the tunnel to go get his game ball. Eventually, the Pacers give him some fraudulent game ball. But my favorite part, the best part, the thing that fits in the canonical history of Fast Break Breakfast best part, the Pacers the next day signed James Johnson. They said, hey,
get a goon.
This guy came into our locker room, Giannis, shoved our assistant GM around, pushed our players around. We've highlighted a weakness on our roster. We might need a little bit of toughness. Let's bring back James Johnson. He might have still been in town. They're like, hey, James Johnson still lives here. Let's get him back in. So they, again, with a straight face, they tweeted out, congrats to Oscar Tshiebwe for his first career points. And then they said, and by the way, we've signed James Bloodsport Johnson to the team. I love this story. Great job, Pacers. I hope you lose horribly to the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Anyways, those were our best things. The opposite of our steak and eggs best things are our cream of wheat worst things. John, what's the worst thing you saw?
We got into it pretty deeply with the Dubs pain that we're experiencing. But before we leave sector, I was too afraid to ask to look online. What is the status of Draymond's podcast right now? I
assume it's number 1 on the Apple charts or right behind the Travis Kelce podcast.
Is he podcasting during this?
I feel like that would be a problem, but I don't know. It would seem like, because again, when he punched Jordan Poole, correct me if my recollection is wrong, he went on his podcast
basically
celebrated it.
Yes. Basically.
And also did it as like a special release. We're like, I'm going to tell my side of the story exclusively on my podcast.
Yes.
So,
but between this and between Ja Morant's return, I found myself in a strange situation, Keith.
What is this?
Going onto YouTube and watching player podcast reaction shows, thinking that I would find something deeper, more profound. I didn't find that. It turns out the player pods are best digested in clip form.
Yes.
You just find the best clips. You honestly, you just let the internet bring it to you, because I probably wasted 5 hours yesterday doing player podcasts, which if that's your bag, great. But if it's not your bag, I use this cream of wheat worst segment to save you some time. Don't do that. I've done it for you.
That reminds me, I don't know if you remember this is from an old Bill Simmons column. He used to have some story about like, don't go chasing the night. Like if you're in Vegas and things are rolling, it's fine. But when it's like, whatever, when like the surge ends at like 3 or 4, don't be like, oh, we got to find something. Don't chase it. Let it come to you. Maybe some nights carry you all the way through the evening. This is, for me, this is the NBA player podcast clip situation. Yeah. Don't seek them out. Let them come to you.
Yeah, I learned.
Don't go chasing the clips.
I sat through.
Let them come to you.
I now like, I've heard over an hour of Gilbert Arenas pontification.
You're like, when's Jeff Teague going to tell a funny story again? Like, yes. Let it come to you. The guy's hilarious. I have a text thread where there's this active theory that Jeff Teague is burning through his stories too fast. He needed to pace himself.
This is Joey Devine.
I cannot divulge which other NBA podcasters are part of this text thread, but we're like, Jeff Teague's hilarious, and it's like, oh, I think Jeff's out of stories. He needs to start. Yeah, he might. That
happens with pro wrestler podcasts. Once they run out of their stories, the podcasts get very bad. You like learn their political beliefs. It's like, oh my god. Then they just go away. Here's one worse thing that I have. Speaking of Giannis and his game ball and his 60 points, this is pretty funny to me. This maybe just speaks to sports fandom and how it blinds you, and how you now have people like standing for like Ja Morant's behavior. They're like, he did nothing wrong. So you always defend your guy. I've seen this recently with both Giannis and with Joel Embiid. This is after like 60-point games and 50-point games, where the opposing team's fan base is like, the foul calls are out of control. They're like, this is gross. How in the world can you sit there and watch a basketball game and feel like Joel Embiid deserves 20 free throws or Giannis deserves 30 free throws? And the sickness that happens to fans of Giannis or Joel Embiid is they put together these clips on social media, and they're like, hey, for all of you guys complaining about the officiating, check out this reel of all the foul calls that Joel Embiid got. And what they've unwittingly done is paste together this clip of just enraging basketball plays where it's like, how do you not see the problem? Like, it's like, oh, you think Jason Tatum shoots too many free throws? Well, look at the 9 fouls he drew last game. And your casual basketball fan, or even your hardcore basketball fan, sees this list of plays and is like, we have to reform the NBA rulebook. Like, it's not, no one is usually disputing that like the calls are wrong. Sometimes the calls are wrong, but mostly it's like, if those 10 fouls, if 8 of those weren't just good defense, we got to start over. And so maybe it's the worst thing that the Embiid fans don't understand. They're like, no, look, it's not legal guarding position. It's like, no, you don't understand. The rules are wrong. All of the rules are wrong. There's no way this should be called this way. By the way, I saw John, I saw a clip this morning of the way travels used to be called in the NBA. Oh my goodness. It might've been my most old man moment of the week. It was like Byron Scott getting called for a travel for doing the lightest Euro step ever. Yeah. Where like, he didn't do a gather step. He dribbled, picked the ball up, took 2 steps. They're like, no. You change directions with your steps. That's right.
like, no, sir.
Warms my heart.
You take that playground ball elsewhere.
Picked up your pivot foot.
Yeah. I think one more, an actual worst. The Knicks lost Mitchell Robinson for the year. I'm sad. That's no good. Let's do a
special Grizzlies dead player qualification things, right?
Yeah.
Your contract.
That was a weird one with the designated the what is it, injured player? It's called disabled player. Are we still allowed to say that? Disabled player exception. They applied for one. Anyways, those were our worst things. Before we get to the awards segment of the program, we have a single listener submitted question. The croissant questioner.
Caleb asks a question with a follow-up question. Does Ja do the dunk contest this year for a quick rating boost / image rehabilitation? Follow-up. And how many games would Adam Silver suspend him if he used a fake gun, finger guns after one of his dunks?
Great question from Caleb. It actually is something I've been thinking about a lot as far as the second half of his question. For the first half of his question, would Ja Morant do a dunk contest for a quick ratings boost image rehab? No. Zero. I don't think he's interested. What do you think? Do you think he would consider it? It's a good
No, I don't think
idea.
I would love it, but I think that the days of good players being in the dunk contest are well behind us. And
You know,
also, like Ja has too much to lose probably from his camp's
there's no
estimation.
upside. Yeah, there's no upside.
Right.
Also, I mean, he's specifically said many times he's never doing a dunk contest. There's no upside.
Yeah.
Also, this like the hammer or the nail was put in the coffin on this when they once again invited Mac McClung to do it. There's no way Ja Morant is going up against Mac McClung, who plays for maybe like the Delaware Blue Hens or something. I don't know where he plays in the G League. Like there's no way Ja's doing it. Now, the next part of Caleb's question: how many games would Silver suspend Ja if during a dunk contest he did fake guns, finger gun celebrations or something? I've thought about this for actual games. I was like, what if Ja Morant did that Brandon Miller thing at Alabama, where they were during the starting lineup announcements, one of his teammates patted him down for weapons? I was like, what if Ja Morant in his first home game against the Pacers on Thursday night had Bismack Biyombo pat him down? Like, what would Adam Silver do? What would the Grizzlies do? What if Ja Morant, after his game-winning layup, did like some pew 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 finger guns?
I think the Grizzlies should do laser pointers in the arena.
Yeah.
Grizzlies game ops should put laser pointers on different players to target them for joxecution.
Non-joke. All right, we've seen this before. Where have they not?
Underrated storyline tonight. Pacers coming back to town.
Oh,
will people bring laser pointers to the arena?
No, they're illegal. Don't do that. FedEx Forum has a clear bag policy. I assume they will. Yeah, they can't. You just slide those in your flask in your hip pocket. We've had a lot of players go to the arrow. You know, so like there's obviously the Jamal Murray blue arrow, but you had Wes Matthews do the arrow thing because for a while they're like do they fine you if you use guns? Didn't there used to be like some pantomiming of like a rifle and or the handguns? I don't think you're really allowed to do. Oh, like you would like the 6-shooters and put your your guns back in your hip holsters. Am I dreaming this? I feel like they kind of got rid of that. So I am curious if
I know you couldn't do thumb across the throat for a while.
Oh yeah, can't do a throat slit. That's very, very violent. Like, could you blow over your fingers like you're blowing the smoke off the barrel of the gun and then put the fake gun back in your holster? If Ja Morant did that,
certainly can't do that.
Can anybody else?
Yes.
LeBron James, can he?
Yes.
LeBron James did the what he did? He did the roll the blunt, smoke it, put it out.
If you were suspended for intravenous needles, you would not be able to do the ice in the vein celebration.
Oh, that's a very interesting point.
There's just a
I want to know,
it's contextual.
I want to know if return to play situations, if they said like, listen, in Ja, no gun celebrations, because it would be a thing. I now very sickly want it to happen. I want to see the firestorm. It would ruin the Grizzlies' very exciting 1-0 start to the Ja Morant era of the 2023-2024 season. But yeah, all right. So no gun celebrations. Can anyone? We're saying, or what's a similar? I don't want to make domestic violence jokes, so now I'm trying to go to the now running through the suspensions to the lesser suspended players. What about Dillon Brooks, who punched somebody in the balls again on Wednesday night, was not ejected from the game, somewhat surprisingly. I feel like he's going to get after the fact suspended because this is his third nut shot of the past 10 months maybe. Could Dillon do a joke? How would you even pantomime? What if you hit a shot?
You could cross your legs, hold your groin.
What if you had a teammate participate like how NFL players celebrate turnovers and touchdowns, where you had a sequence thing where you pretend like you were punching your friends in the nuts? Would that Adam Silver would just?
Are group celebrations banned yet? They're back in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know. We need group celebrations. We need more of that.
Slippery slope, my friend.
What if every time you forced a turnover, you had a group celebration, run down to the end zone camera? What about when Jaren Jackson Jr. drew the first charge of his entire career on Tuesday? There was like a big group make a, I don't know, post for a photo. I'd like to see it. Anyways, good question, Caleb. You bring up a lot of interesting theoretical points, and hopefully we never cross that bridge and find out what the answer actually is. Anyways, if you want your question to be answered on air, or if you want your question to be answered as part of the Millennial Brunch bonus episode that comes out every month, you have to join our Patreon, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you join the Patreon, not only do you get access to the bonus Millennial Brunch croissant episode, you can join the Slack channel. You can play fantasy sports with us. By the way, I'm in my fantasy football semifinals in the listener league. Very happy about that. Playing John Sakon. This is somebody
JJ Sakon, pretty good player, right?
This is somebody I text now and still don't know how to say their last name. So if you want to get involved with our awesome online community of our listeners, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. It is now time for the awards segment of the program, the International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award, given each week to the worst performance in a box score. This week, we only have a couple of honorable mentions. Kind of a weird week. A lot of it is too many players went 3 for 14 and 5 for 17. I can't read them all. So 2 honorable mentions. RJ Barrett, 3 for 16. Kyle Kuzma, 7 for 22. We do, however, John, have 4 nominees.
Oh, that's new.
Here they go. Jalen Williams, in a loss to the Kings, was 2 for 14, had 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover, 3 personal fouls. Shadon Sharp, in a loss to the Jazz.
The bloom is off the rose.
This is a game. I believe this was the only game all season the Trailblazers were favored to win. Shadon Sharp in this game was 1 for 12, 4.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 turnover, 3 personal fouls. Anthony Edwards, our next nominee, in a win against the Mavericks, 3 for 19, 9 points, did have 11 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, but had 5 turnovers and 2 personal fouls. And then Mikal Bridges, in a loss to the Knicks, Mikal, 4 for 21, had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers, and 0 personal fouls. Perhaps try. So John, which ones can we throw out? We have Jalen Williams, 2 for 14, 5 points, 4 rebounds. Shadon Sharp, 1 for 12, 4.7 rebounds. Anthony Edwards, 3 for 19, 9 points, 11 assists. Mikal Bridges, 4 for 21, 15 points, 2 steals.
I think Anthony Edwards we can throw out.
Just because of the assists? Yes. I mean,
that's these like are indicative of I can't get it done this way, I'm going to get it done another way.
These are all winning stat lines in my book. You know, these are all winning stat lines. I guess because of the 11 assists and how close everyone else is, I would say 1 for 12 is worse than 2 for 14. Yes. It's rarer. Okay, so we're throwing out Jalen Williams. I guess as I talk it out, if I'm comparing, so yeah, just give it a shade on.
Yes, which pains me. One of my favorite players.
It pained me to name him the least valuable player of the in-season tournament, but I had to do it. The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
This is like when Kevin Pelton is like, I didn't pick the Grizzlies to finish first in the West. My computer picked the Grizzlies to finish first in the West. So, congratulations, Shadon Sharp or Shadon Sharp. I don't know. 1 for 12, and you have won this week's International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award. It is now time for this date in International Stackhouse of Pancakes history. John, on December 21st, 1891.
Didn't know Joe Fulks was this old.
Dr. James Naismith invented the game of basketball and posted the first ever 4 for 20. Could not get it in the peach basket very frequently.
Dr. J.
Congratulations, Dr. James Naismith, this day in International Stackhouse of Pancakes history. All right, John. Kudos to me. Our segment in honor of Dillon Brooks, who came back to Memphis, hit the dagger, scored 26 points, tied his season high, embarrassed his former team and teammates. Kudos to him. What's something you've gotten right on a previous episode that you would like to be complimented for, much in the spirit of Dillon Brooks who says kudos to me. I'll go ahead and tell you, here's my kudos to me. The Dame Lillard trade to the Bucks. It was a defensible move by the Bucks and possibly even a great move. Who knows? But my kudos to me in December is it made the Celtics too good. And it was a mistake by Milwaukee. It was more so a huge mistake by the Suns, who went all in for this season. Whoops. And in the process, the Bucks and Suns kind of sent Drew Holiday to the Celtics, which made the Celtics amazing. And any kind of all-in move, and I know the Bucks are really good, and their offense is incredible, and they have several months to figure out defense and to get Chris Middleton healthy and to round the whole squad into shape. But right now, my initial reaction of, I don't think I would have done this if I'm the Bucks if I knew Drew Holiday was going to the Celtics. That kind of undoes my deal. And I certainly, if I'm the Suns, wouldn't have made the Bucks and Celtics, two teams I'm competing with for the title this season, way better than me. So kudos to me. I feel like that analysis was correct.
For me, it's more of a kudos to us.
Oh, kudos to us.
Zach LaVine sucks. C'est magnifique. Maybe the greatest kudos to us we've had on this one. And very rare that it comes true.
Par fadeaway, John. What thing are you looking forward to?
I alluded to it, but I think this Grizzlies Pacers game, that's an underreported storyline.
Oh, you just the bus situation?
Yes. I think there's going to be, I think the Pacers are going to come out hot. I think both teams have a lot to play for. Pacers have been kind of, if I've been following correctly, kind of underwhelming as of late. So I'd like to, maybe that'll be my apology segment next week. What
over under are you going to place at Ja Morant's points playing the Pacers? Playing Tyrese Halliburton, who in the opinion of like kind of the NBA community at large, Halliburton is probably thought of as a better player than Ja right now. And so
that's incorrect.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean, you're right, but that's an incorrect opinion for them to have. That's
just recency bias, what's the over under for this Pacers team? Historically terrible. What would you put the over under at points? I'm seeing
7.5.
Oh, you're way off here.
So it's 31.5.
The books all have them at 30.5 points.
Yeah, I know they play. We're seeing some of the highest over unders we've ever seen in Pacers games.
Yeah,
ever. So okay, well, I will take the over.
I feel like I want to take the over.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's rusty and he scored all his points in the second half against the Pelicans, and maybe it won't be as good. You
don't often get to play the worst defense in the league. Often you have to take.
I agree.
Yeah, you have to take your shots. You're not going to get a chance to. Next time they play, it'll be like 34.5.
So here's what I'm looking forward to, and it's what I assume the entire basketball world is looking forward to on Thursday night. It's not Pacers team bus rematch against the Grizzlies entourage. It is, we have the Jazz playing the Pistons. The Pistons are chasing history. The Pistons have a chance to set the NBA record for most consecutive losses, but they are facing a Jazz team that is resting Lauri Markkanen. Adam Silver is just going to sit by and let the Jazz rest Lauri Markkanen?
Maybe he has Taylor Hendricks on his basketball team. Am I getting the name right? Who is that guy?
Yeah. The Pistons right now have lost 24 straight games. They are hosting the Utah Jazz, who are rather terrible. But the Jazz are, without Lauri Markkanen, who again, resting. He's not hurt. I thought we weren't allowed to rest guys anymore for big games. Where's the league?
I think that's only if it impacts actual ratings, which Lauri Markkanen does not.
That's true. I think it only is for big market teams on certain days. Anyways, that is what I will be glued to. That, and of course, I guess the Grizzlies tonight. It's gonna be great. Also, like, have you looked at the Western Conference, John? Where like we're excited for the Grizzlies, and like, okay, they can now win, a majority of their games now that Ja Morant's here. But like, do you think all these teams are going to finish over 500? Like, can I believe in the recent stumbles of like the Suns and the Lakers that like maybe they could possibly end up being terrible? Like, I assume the Suns and Lakers are going to get good at some point. And
I don't know if the Suns will.
I mean, I didn't think the Suns would be this bad, but
yeah. I don't know if the Suns will. I think
Suns
the
are comically terrible.
The Lakers just want to hang around. They've shown that to be their MO.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if the Suns will, but Grizzlies may have dug themselves too deep a hole. But
I think so.
It will be interesting to watch.
Oh, and the Warriors. The Warriors have now won 3 straight. When do we start firing up that Ewing theory with the no Draymond?
I wish you'd told me this earlier in the show. I would have researched those 3 games.
Well, one was an unbelievable comeback against the Celtics where I was asleep.
Oh, I would have researched that game desperately.
All of a sudden,
conclusions.
Kuminga's contributing. There's some center I've never heard of.
I picked him up. He has a hyphen in his name.
Yeah, the hyphen center doing some stuff.
Michael Clark Duncan looks amazing.
I gotta stay up for these late games, man. Anyways, that's the episode for today.
Griffith Joyner, new power
if you
forward.
want to support our show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreak breakfast. As always, we deeply appreciate everyone who does that and has done that in years past. If you want to try out Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code FBBF. Do us a favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to the Fast Break Breakfast YouTube channel. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.